Hey YouTubers, I know it's been a while since I posted any new videos. Um, when I first started doing this, I was posting a gang of videos, primarily of me going around San Francisco cussing out these fucking cops. A couple years I was doing this during COVID, but a lot was going on with George Floyd and these cops, and it's just you know, as you guys saw the videos I made, between the cops and the Jesus freaks during the Right to Lifers, I made some videos when they came here. But, with COVID being over with, and, I primarily play a lot of poker. That's kind of like what I do, to get by. I play mostly cash games, but I do play some tournaments during the month of June when I go down and play at the World Series of Poker. And which I started doing the tournament thing back in 2014. I cashed in my first event at the World Series. I think it was a couple thousand people played in, and I got like 36. And then the next year, I ended up had a really nice score. I got fourth in the very first Colossus, which was the first tournament at the World Series of Poker that had over 20K participants. It was a $565 buy-in. I think it had like 22,371 people, and I got fourth in it, which paid like 235,000. So that was like my biggest score ever playing poker, obviously. And so since then, I primarily like the tournaments that have bigger fields, that relatively inexpensive buy-ins, like 1,500 and below buy-ins, and have huge fields, because I'm kind of like a patient guy when it comes to playing poker. And I tried to have one of the poker news writers look this up, and he wasn't able to get back with me. But in the history of the WSOP, there have been 5 tournaments that have been over 20,000 participants. I've cashed in all 5 of them, and I've made really deep runs in 3 of them. I don't think there's another poker player alive today that has cashed in all 5 of those WSOP events. There was one this year too that they had that ended up it had like over 20,000 people in it, and I cashed in it, but I wasn't able to go as deep as I wanted to. It was like a very frustrating tournament. It was called like the Gladiator tournament, that was probably my worst finish of all the 20,000 participant tournaments. Although I did do good, my nice score this year was in this tournament called the $1 Million Bounty Tournament that had like you got money for, if you made the money, which is like 15% of the field. They guarantee $1 million for first, and also they had like bounties. Like if you made day 2, the minimum bounty was 1,000, and they had $2 million bounties. So like but you got a bounty by knocking out somebody. So the 18,000 people that played in the tournament, only 1,009 players made it to day 2. Now I was short stack. I had like 7 big blinds going into day 2, but I was able, go all the way down. I got knocked out in 68th place, which paid like 15,000. But I only got one bounty because I never had a big stack. The only bounty I got was right before the dinner break. I had pocket threes. The guy had ace king, and I barely had him covered, and it was a garbage board. So I ended up knocking him out. And so right coming back from the dinner break, I turned in my bounty. And so they did the computerized drawing, and I got like a $2,500 bounty. So I was like, hey, that's nice. So I ended up making like a little bit more than 17,000 from that tournament. And I did get a cash in the Gladiator. But the other tournaments that I played in, I wasn't able to do that good. And so I ended up making like 13,000 net profit from the World Series, which was nice, But I didn't play in the main event because I didn't want to put $10,000 up, of my own money, to play in it, because that's a nice chunk of change I have to put up. But anyway, enough with the poker thing, But that's the reason why I haven't really posted a lot, is that I've been playing a lot of poker. But what compelled me to make this video today is I watched, well, not really watched, I listened to the 3-hour, Candice Owens did a 3-hour interview with Andrew Tate earlier this week. And so it took me a couple days to listen to it, because what I did was, when I walked my dog, who's, as you guys have seen in the video, her name is Stella. I walk her 3 times a day. And so I would listen to this parts of this video of the interview, and of course, it's 3 hours. It takes a little time. It took me a couple of days to listen to it. Those of you who don't know who Candice Owens is, she's like the female version of Uncle Tom sellout, like Clarence Thomas is from the Supreme Court. She's like the female version of that. And, she's a black female who's a fucking Uncle Tom sellout. Andrew Tate is, I guess you can call him an influencer who's kind of burst on the scene in the last year or so with his, poignant takes on dating and other issues. Now, I titled this video, Andrew Tate, 50% right, 50% full of shit. And I'm going to get into that because he touched on a lot of things that, a lot of people kind of like have been, commenting on the internet. And, I kind of want to give my take on it because a person can be right on some things and totally, full of shit and dangerous on other things. And I'm going to break my take on that. And you guys can let me know what you think about it. The part I think he's right on mostly is when it comes to dating and relationships and marriage and the dynamic between men and women, and kind of like what he calls is the pussification of men, by the left or whatever. And I do tend to agree with him about when it comes to the dating dynamic because 80% of women out there are literally trying to chase 10% of the men out there. I mean, you hear these women online and they all say, girl, you shouldn't settle. You deserve a top 10 guy. I mean, really? I mean, even women who are like, at best, 5s and 6s in the looks department feel that they deserve a top 10 guy. And let's explain what a top 10 guy is. And I think that's a misleading term, but I'm going to it's a catchy term, so I'm going to explain it. 1, over 6 feet tall. Okay? Because women want guys who are over 6 feet tall. All right? Now, before I go on, when I say women, I mean in general, okay? Now, sure, there's always exceptions to the rule, okay? But I'm going to just save a time and say in general, okay? That's what I mean that, most women, or when I say most men, okay? But in general, if you ask the average female what kind of guys she's looking for, over 6 feet tall. Because women want to look up at a guy, they want to wear high heels, because women think they're going to wear high heels all the time. Oh, high heels on a date. Most women don't wear high heels anymore. Sure they do, but you're not going to be, but for the rare time that they are, they want to look up at the guy, okay? Because optics are important to a female. I'm 6'2", so I don't have to worry about that thing. But I'm just saying is that the average female wants the guys over 6 feet tall. 2, good looking. I'm not good looking, so I made my peace a long time ago. Good looking. 3, fit. I'm not fat, but I could lose a few pounds, okay? I'm 6'2", I weigh, 240 pounds. All right, I'm probably about 30 pounds overweight. But I carry my weight well, but this ain't about me. I'm just saying in general. Women want a guy. And number 4, make at least high 6 figures. I don't make high 6 figures, so, I only got 1 out of the 4 qualities. I'm okay with that. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, no big deal. But those are the 4 qualities. Tall, over 6 feet tall. Good looking, fit, make high 6 figures. And then, of course, they want them to have charisma and be funny and, be a, take charge kind of guy, have like a future, but basically those are the 4 things that a top 10 guy have to have or he ain't considered top 10. Do you know what quarter of the male population fit all 4? I mean, all 4 of those qualities. 1% of 1% of men. Not 1% of men, but 1% of 1% of men have all 4 qualities. Now, sure, you know what? When it comes to high 6 figures, there's a decent number of men, that make high 6 figures, okay? At least, okay? There's a number of good-looking men. There's a number of men over 6. But you know what? First of all, let's get to the tall part. Do you know what percentage of men is over 6 feet tall? 20%. 20% of men are over 6 feet tall. So that means 80% of men out there could never be considered a top 10 guy. So of the 20% of men that are over 6 feet tall, What percentage of those men are good looking, fit, and make high six figures? Now, so you got, and I'll say this, it's top 10%, I'm sorry, even though it's less than that, but it's a catchy term, and I'll just use, 10% of men out there. That's what 80% of women are chasing after. So when these women talk about, I can't find a good guy, you know why? Because the men that you are chasing want, they know that 80% of women are chasing after them. So, like, sure, they'll fuck a woman that's, in the 5 and 6 looks department because, guys like a little variety. They want somebody hot, but maybe there's something about an average looking or cute looking woman that he may just want to bang. And sure, he'll have sex with them. But there's a difference between having sex with somebody and marrying them, wiping them up. A man who's successful like that, they'll fuck it. They'll fuck you. It don't mean they're going to marry you. So these women are frustrated. Well, you set your standards so fucking high, and all you think that you deserve this guy. Well, guess what? The men who fit that quality, they know that they can pick who they want to be with. They know that they can fuck around as much as they want to, and then when they finally reach a point when they go, like, you know what? I finally want to settle down. Guess who they're going to go after? A woman who's young. And when I say young, 20 to 25, okay? They want some good looking, hot, fit, loyal, low body count, and fertile. 6 things. 20 to 25, that's 1. Good looking, number 2. Fit, number 3. Loyal, that means faithful. Won't fuck around on them. Number 4. Fertile. Number 5. Submissive. Number 6. Number 7, low body count. They'll fuck a woman that's got a high body count. All these Instagram women's, who fly over, like when you go on Instagram, you see a woman with a Chanel bag. Ho. Okay? Ho. She's getting in somebody's Lamborghini. Ho. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. If I was a good-looking female when I'm in my early 20s, if I want to have some, maybe I would want to have somebody, buy me, Chanel and pay my rent or whatever. But I think that's the wrong path to go, because the one thing Andrew Tate does say is that, these women who are like in their early 20s, what they should be doing is using that to try to find a man to marry that's like in his mid to late 30s. And the reason I say that is because for most men, when we turn 18, we got no value to the world. We have to create our value. We have to go out there and go to school, graduate, start a business, or, become a lawyer, surgeon, and then work our way up, become partner, where we're making that kind of money. And it usually takes the guy to his mid to late 30s where he's able to establish himself and he's a boss. Okay, that takes time. But when that happens and you got that money coming in, because these guys didn't have time to go party and fuck around and go clubbing, they were establishing themselves. At least when I say these guys, I mean top 10 guys. Because that's, it takes time for these guys, to build themselves. But when they build themselves, they reach the point, well, okay, you know what? I got time to kind of like enjoy the fruits of my labor. They'll fuck an Instagram model. They'll go to the club and pick up somebody at the VIP room or whatever. But they ain't going to marry them. They're going to fuck them and just have all kinds of fun. And then when they're ready to settle, they'll look for a girl in her 20s, mid-20s, who's got a low body count and who's using her beauty and her fitness and attractiveness to select the right guy. That's the kind of guy the top 10 man would marry. Not the woman who say, I got to go through my whole phase or I got to find myself. Because by the time these women are in their late 20s, early 30s, and they finally realize, okay, I need to find somebody, guess what? Most of the top 10 guys ain't going to want your ass. Because they got a high body count. It don't make them bad. I'm just saying is, a top 10 guy can be very selective. Now, I'm not saying that there's no top 10 guys out there that won't marry a girl in their late 20s, early 30s, but the exception to the rule don't make it the rule. Let me put it this way. Jay-Z and Beyonce, high power couple. If Jay-Z were to if they got a divorce, right? If Beyonce divorced him when she found out he cheated on her, who do you think it would be easier for them to find a partner to marry again? Overwhelmingly, JC would have an easier time to find a woman to marry him that he wanted than it would be for Beyonce to find a guy. And I'll tell you why. Rich men don't have problem marrying down when it comes to like economics. Jay-Z's got his money. So at this point, he'll probably find him a girl in her 20s, who's all those qualities I said. He'll marry her. And he don't care if she's got money or not. He's got his money. He don't care if she has a career. He just wants her to look good and maybe give him some more kids if he wants to have more kids. Whereas Beyonce, her selection of men is low. And it's not because she ain't hot. It's because the money she has, women like her who have her kind of money, they want to marry a guy that at least has their money, if not more. Because women like that who make their money, they consider that money their money. Whereas the man they marry, then she's entitled to half his money. Well, you know what? Of the men who are in her economic status, who are willing to marry a middle-aged woman, ain't a whole lot. There's not a lot of those men around. Because most men who are in her economic bracket, who are looking to marry, they're looking to marry somebody younger and hotter. Not saying Beyonce ain't hot, but you know what? She's been married. Another man has fucked her probably thousands of times, which is her husband. And during the course of time they've been married, he's fucked her thousands of times. And you know what? The man in her economic status that she's going to find attractive is probably going to want somebody younger that's not been used. And that's just the reality of it. So if she's she'll probably have no problem dating somebody, but when it comes to marrying somebody, it's going to be much harder for her or women in her position. So that's the reason why that she stayed with him, because she was smart. She's like, yeah, he fucked around, but you know what? She's got a good thing with him, because replacing Jay-Z would be much harder than it would be if Jay-Z wanted to replace her. Jay-Z would have no problem finding a hot female that he could fucking get married and maybe have more kids if that's what he wanted. But Jay-Z, he probably likes what he got with Beyonce, but I'll be willing to bet this. He fucked around once, there's no doubt he's fucking around again. Because guys like in Jay-Z or Tiger Woods or Leonardo DiCaprio, guys in their situations, they're considered top 10 guys. Good looking, tall, make money, all that. Those guys live in fantasy land. The average man will never be able to experience what they experience. They can fuck around, and they got women throwing themselves at them. I remember the comedian Bill Barr said that, most of us will never experience having, like he said, like, women are like, well, what can Tiger Woods be faithful? Why did he have to cheat on his first wife? Well, the average guy will never be able to experience going off the 18 hole and having a bus full of Scandinavian models wanting to jump in their fucking lap. And that's just the reality that those men live in. They can fuck around on their wives or on the girl, whatever, because they have it like that. And the men that rest of us who, most men who marry, who are average guys, they wish they could do that, okay? But we can't, because we have to live in the real world. And the real world is that, infidelity is, if you're unfaithful, a woman can divorce you and get half your money. And Andrew Tate touches on like how marriage today is really not a good thing for the average guy, because women initiate. Well, first of all, about 50% of all marriages, maybe 51, 52, but around that, in a divorce. And of those marriages that remain married, what percentage of them are really happy marriages? In other words, what percentage of those marriages of the 50% that remain married don't stay married because of, financial reasons, insurance, the children, religion, like, okay, well, I'm used to them, and it's just like, okay, I don't want to break this up. Not because you love them, but, it's scary being single, okay? I'll probably say about probably 10 to 15% of all marriages are really happy marriages. That's not a great, from a gambling standpoint, if you're sitting there playing poker and somebody makes a big bet and you got a 10 to 15% chance of hitting your hand on the river, you fold that shit. Because it's not a good bet. Just because something, it can hit. Yeah, it can, but will it? I wouldn't play poker like I do, be able to play like I do if I fucking chase 10 to 15% outers when I'm not priced in. But, so yeah, of those 50% that remain, that get divorced, women initiate 75% of all divorces. The average man does not want to, he may be unhappy, but he doesn't want to get divorced because divorce is expensive. It is devastating to a man. People talk about, the woman's wrecking, No. Women get the kids, they get alimony, they get child support, all right? And plus, she's like, well, I'll just find another guy. Whereas a man, not only is it hard for him to get married because he lost half his net worth, and he's having to spend future money on her and the kids. So for him to marry another woman, he's got to have considerable financial resources because basically he's taking care of two women. Whereas a woman gets divorced, she can just find another guy to be with. So, like, for the average guy, unless you know for sure that this is the right one, which you never can know, but I'm just saying, marriage is not really a good thing for the average guy. And so, also, good thing he touches on, women lie to each other all the fucking time. Girl, you deserve that man. Even fat women. Oh, girl, you're I saw this podcast a few weeks ago where these women were saying how Lizzo is a top 10 female. In what universe is a woman that weighs 400 fucking pounds a top 10 female? Now, sure, there's guys out there got fat fetishes. But again, the exception to the rule, don't make it the fucking rule, okay? Yeah, she sings, she's famous, she makes a lot of money. But I don't see a bunch of guys proposing to her, asking to marry her ass. Now, I'm sure there's some broke-ass men out there, that would marry her. But the type of man that she's going to be attracted to, you think she's going to be attracted to it with her money and whatever? You think she's going to marry another fat guy? No. She's going to want a guy that she thinks is hot. But let me tell you something. Ain't a lot of hot men, want to fuck a whale. Okay? I mean, that's just a reality. Okay, I wouldn't fuck her. That's disgusting. But, but these women, they got, like, Martha Stewart on the cover of Sports Illustrated, swimsuit issue. Ugh. An 80-year-old woman? Come on, man. Look, hey, I wouldn't want to be on the cover of some, Playgirl magazine, because I don't think the average girl or the average gay guy want to see a guy with my body on there. Okay? If my male friends told me, yeah, dude, you should pose, I'd be like, dude, fuck you. All right, you're delusional. I don't want to be lied to, but this whole body positivity thing that he'll talk about that as well. I agree with that. No. You need, the average man is honest with each other. We tell each other the fucking truth. Man, you're fat, you're slow, you're out of shape. We joke around with each other, but yeah, but it's also the truth. Whereas women, they lie to each other. Girl, you got it going on. You're all that. You're 10. And it's like, what the fuck? No. This whole, I'm against this whole, I'm not saying that you should discriminate against somebody who's fat, they shouldn't have a job, or they shouldn't be able to have a career. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm not saying that you got to be mean to them, but propping them up like they're healthy or like it's just a great thing to be 400 pounds overweight. No, it's not. No, it's not. A man don't want to fucking jerk off to fucking Martha Stewart on the cover of fucking Sports Illustrated. Man, used to be fucking hot females on there. Ellie McPherson, Tyra Banks, Kate Upton. Fucking Martha Stewart? Ugh. Come on. Unbelievable. But I mean, that's just the world we live in now. So that's also things that, I like I said, I agree, with Andrew Tate on. But here's the other part that I think he's totally full of shit on. I mean, he touts, well, he used to be a Christian, and now he's a Muslim, but he's still got good things to say about Christianity. And he's like, America needs to get back, to being, like he talks about God a lot, God, God, God. America's not, it's a godless nation now. And I'm like, dude, the Bible was invented in the year 325 AD. A little bit less than about 1702 years ago. Okay? The Bible was invented at this thing called the Council of Nicaea. It was kind of touched a little bit in the movie The Da Vinci Code, but I've read about it extensively. And on his deathbed, the Emperor Constantine decided that he wanted to convert his nation to Christianity. And so, before the year 325, there was no Bible. They had like different books and, scrolls or whatever. But even then, it wasn't universal that the Jesus was the Son of God and all this. So what they did was, they had a convention of a bunch of, bishops or, priests from all over Europe. And they, convened at this city called Nicaea, called Council of Nicaea. And they voted on, and they debated and discussed, kind of like the Continental Congress did when, after the Revolutionary War, they formed the Continental Congress to create like the Constitution, the House of Representatives, they debate all this thing. Well, they did the same thing with the Bible. What books? Because there are other books that could have been in the Bible, but they decided not to put it in there. But they voted on it, and they voted what they would consider to be like the mandates of Christianity, and they decided to say, you know what, Jesus is the Son of God. And as a result, it took a number of years, but Christianity eventually exploded through Europe. Because going back before Christianity, prior to I say Judaism was like the first religion to be like the one God concept. Because prior to around 1500 AD, BC, around that time, is when, they don't exactly have it, figured out, but there's, archaeologists are still trying to figure it out. But it was around 1500 BC. That's 3,500 years ago. Because prior to 1500 BC, if you study history, from the time civilization first began about 10,000 years ago in the Middle East, when farming and the domestication of farm animals, because before that, you didn't really have cities. You had little areas, but humans, we were hunters and gatherers. Sure, we stayed in a spot for a little while and get all the grains and the vegetables and fruits or whatever that were around, but we had to follow livestock because livestock traveled. They traveled where the grass is or the water is. They didn't stay in livestock, the type of animals that we ate back then, they didn't stay in one spot. And we didn't know how to domesticate them. So we would stay there and we didn't know how to plant food. That was not discovered until around 8,000 BC. So prior to that, we were hunters and gatherers. So the communities were small and people didn't really, because you can only support a small community, but probably groups about maybe 50 to 100. Because how you going to, you're traveling all the time. You're traveling on the go. And so people didn't really, they had probably whatever primitive beliefs that they could understand back then, but it wasn't Christianity, it wasn't Islam, it wasn't Judaism, all right? Nobody ever heard of Jesus 8,000 BC, okay? That's a historical fucking fact. Not one person on earth worshipped or even heard of Jesus fucking Christ or Muhammad or Jehovah or whatever it is that the three religions that dominate the earth today, claim to worship, okay? So, but then when civilization began and these communities started popping up, then whoever ruled the land, their interpretation of God was God. Sometimes they call themselves God, okay? The emperors, the pharaohs of Egypt, they were all considered God. Okay, so when one leader would die and another one would replace him or kill him or whatever, then their interpretation of what God was the God. It wasn't until around 1500 BC that the Jews, this is what my theory is, a group of people that would come to call themselves the Jews decided, you know what, it'd be easier to kind of like make this shit last if we simplify the shit and make it one God, and it'd be like this. And then they were able to buy into this and say, this is our identity, this is how we're gonna be, and we're gonna pass this on to our people and our descendants and so on. And they were able to stay together and survive with that. Well, then, for the next 1,500 years, the Jews were doing their thing, but Europeans, whether it's the Greeks, the Romans, the Egyptians, whatever, their interpretation, they had different gods. It finally, around what they call it 2,000 years ago, is my theory is that, white people in Europe were like, hey, the Jews are onto something here. The Roman Empire was falling and, are decaying. And it's like, the Jews got this good thing going. But, of course, Jewish people, like, I consider religion like the treehouse. Because if you have a treehouse and you let all the neighborhood kids come in, then what's so special about it? So you're selective. Well, my theory is the Jews are like, fuck you. We're not going to let you in our club. This is our club. So white people are like, well, fuck you. You know what? We'll form our own fucking club. And we'll call it Christianity. They took what they liked from the Jewish Bible. They liked the Old Testament, and they expanded on it. Because you got to be able to sell it to people. All right? So, they bought into the Old Testament because you got to explain. You can't come up with like a new concept of how the world came to be because, the Old Testament tells an interesting story. So, but it'd be like, well, how can we, because we're not Jewish, well, how can we be like, accepted by God? Jesus. Would have been a guy named Jesus. And you know what? All you got to do is accept him in your heart as your Lord and fucking Savior, and you can go to heaven. And we'll make the Jews out to be the bad guy. We'll make it where it was the Jews that crucified him. That's what they did. And it took a few hundred years, 300 or so years for it to like start spreading. But once it got, the lightning rod was 325, Council of Nicaea, and the Emperor Constantine. From then on, Christianity spread like wildfire. Well, around the year 620 AD or 610, whatever, about 1,400 years ago, a group of, Arabs in the Middle East were like, hey, the Christians and the Jews are onto something here. But, of course, white people in Europe were like, fuck you. We're not going to let you in our club. This is our club. So Arab people back then were like, okay, fuck you motherfuckers. We'll create our own fucking club. And we'll call it Islam. And, we'll take what we parts of like Abraham, in the Bible. We like the idea of Jesus. Muslims actually believe, I don't know too much about their religion, but I heard that they believe that Jesus was a prophet. And we'll take parts of it, but you know what? We'll expand it because we want to be accepted. And so they created their own club. So for the last 1,400 years, we basically have had this like, quote, spiritual war, and I guess some of it's been physical too, between Jews, Muslims, and Christians, and it continues today. You look at that fucking piece of, and Israel is the only piece of land that don't have oil. You got all these Arabic nations around Israel, all got oil. Israel don't have oil, but yet Muslims and Jews believe that this little piece of fucking desert is theirs by divine intervention. That God gifted it to them. Now, a lot can be said about how Israel came to be, whatever, but you know what? Just like how America stole the, I guess Europeans and Spaniards stole America from the Native Americans, but, you can't rewind that clock, okay? Reality is that, America is America the way it is today, and Israel belongs to the Jews, okay? So, Muslims thinking that they're going to overtake Israel, that ship sailed a long time ago. Like it or not, that ship sailed. Now, what I will say is that I think Israel's wrong for expelling Muslims from, the West Bank and basically creating Jewish settlements there. That's not right. The Palestinians deserve their own land. But at the same time, I understand why the peace hasn't happened, because until Palestine recognizes the right for Israel to live, I don't blame Israel for, wanting to protect itself. But that doesn't mean I agree with what's going on in the West Bank. Because the Palestinians who were living there, they lived there for a long fucking time. And their ancestors lived there. And now they're going to fucking, take in, so only Jewish settlements can go in there. That's not fucking right. All right. But I also don't agree with, how the Palestinians are still trying to, do the whole suicide bomb thing or whatever, which, I don't really bitch about Judaism or Islam too much in America, because I don't focus on it, because they don't really have any power here in America. All right. Before I get into that, what I think about who does have power, I will say this, like I said, I don't know much about Islam or Judaism, but, I heard, obviously the media, is touched on the whole, 72 virgin thing. If if you strap on some TNT, it's kind of like what, radicals in Islam, I'm not going to say all Muslims, but I'm going to say radicals in Islam, they basically prey on poor young Muslims and convince them and bribe them and say, you know what, if you strap on some TNT and you kill a bunch of Jews or infidels, Allah is going to reward you with riches and gift you 72 virgins in heaven. Now, most guys go, oh man, 72 virgins, oh man. But come on, 72 virgins, really? Now, Allah would have to do better than that. Perhaps like maybe 72 porn stars who'll do any freaky, kinky, nasty thing I want them to do. Maybe. Wink, wink. But not 72 virgins. I mean, who wants to have sex? What man wants to have sex with a virgin? Now, sure, there are some out there that may, but the exception to the rule don't make it the rule. Okay? You may want to marry one. Even then, you don't want to marry. I don't think the average guy today wants to marry a virgin. I mean, sure, you're going to marry somebody who's got, been with a few guys, but you don't want to marry a woman with a high body count. But you want at least a woman to have some, know what she likes. Okay? Have to experience a few things, and because you want to be sexually compatible. But a virgin who's going to lay there and she's scared out of her mind and she don't know what to do, you got to teach her? No. Do you watch porn and just see a woman just lay there and take it? No. We don't want to watch a porn star. She's insatiable. She knows what she wants. That's what guys watch. And if I'm going to sit there and sacrifice my fucking life, all right, I don't want fucking 72 virgins. I want 72 fucking porn stars that are just going to fucking, be a fucking freak between the fucking sheets. Wink, wink. But not 72 virgins. Islam's going to have to do better than that if they want to fucking keep people, motivated. Because eventually people are going to wise up to the whole, I don't want a fucking virgin. I want a fucking porn star. But anyway, but that's just illustrate how ridiculous the whole 72 virgin thing is. But again, I don't focus on it that much because they don't really have power here in America. But you know who do have power here in America? Is the Jesus freak fuckheads. They have the fucking power. Donald Trump would have never been elected president if it wasn't for the fucking Jesus freak fuckheads. 90% of white Jesus freak fuckheads voted for Trump. A pussy grabber. Paying off porn stars and Playboy playmates to keep him quiet about him fucking them while his wife just gave birth. All right, to his, Barron. Okay, his son Barron. I mean, but come on. Family fucking values. You know what the Republicans and the Jesus freak fuckheads can do with their family fucking values? Shove it up their fucking ass. Family fucking values. Fuck you. Go fucking suck some corporate cock you set up, motherfucker. But yeah, I could go on about the religion thing, but yeah. Andrew Tate's totally wrong about, we need to submit to God. pray. Yeah, another thing, prayer. Andrew Tate talks about how you got to eat what you kill. You got to pull yourself out by the bootstraps. You got to, depend on yourself. Just be a man. And don't, seek handouts. What the fuck do you think prayer is? Prayer is begging for something that you can't get on your own. Help me, Lord. Jesus, I need a job. I need money. I need help paying the bills. I don't know what to do, Lord. I need you, Lord. I can't do anything. What a pussy. That's what you are when you fucking pray. You're a fucking pussy. Give me. That's what you're saying. Give me. I can't get it. I'm a weak motherfucker. That's what you're saying when you fucking pray. And yet these fucking Jesus freak fuckheads, they want to talk about, I eat what I kill. I pull myself up out of bootstraps. No, you didn't. I mean, if I had it in me to believe that there is a God out there that answers fucking prayers, then basically you're taking the easy way out. I don't think prayer works, but I'm just saying, if it did, you're a pussy. Don't talk about how you pull yourself up by the bootstraps, how you eat what you kill, how you need to stand up, be a man, and don't be reliant on other people. You're relying on a God to bail your punk ass out when you fucking pray. Call a spade a spade. You're a pussy. You're weak. You're pathetic when you have to resort to prayer to get what you need. I bet nobody's ever fucking framed it like that. But am I wrong? Isn't prayer contradictory to the pulling yourself up out of bootstraps mantra? I eat what I kill. All this fucking tough guy shit that the Republicans like to talk about. Or the Jesus freaks. I mean, Andrew Tate's politics, totally fucking full of shit. Bitches about how, we spend all this money on helping Ukraine. A lot of Republicans are starting to fucking support Russia. And I'll tell you why. Russia is becoming an increasingly Christian-dominant nation. Putin has embraced Christianity. A lot of the laws that they passed in Russia are, pro-Christian, anti, gay or whatever. And the Republicans here in America, they like that shit. And they look at Russia, and they don't see communists anymore. Russia's becoming more and more capitalistic, but also dictatorship. And Trump wants to be a dictator. Republicans like that because with a dictator, you can impose your will on the masses. And the Republicans, the Jesus freaks, they want to turn America into the Christian version of the fucking Taliban. That's what they want. And they see what Russia's doing over there with the whole, cracking down on, gay people or people who are unions and all that. They love that shit here in America. And they also see Russia as a white nation. And what they want is now that Russia's embraced both capitalism and Christianity, they want to see Russia advance and reestablish the Soviet Union. Because this is the thing. Just like with Hitler when he took Poland, Ukraine is not the ending domino. If Russia was successful and they took over Ukraine, the rest of those nations that are free now, that used to be a part of the Soviet Union, Poland, Czechoslovakia, or Croatia, Bosnia, Romania, a number of them. I can't. There's about 17 of them. All into. I guess you get to the I think it's the Ural or the Alps. They need to expand westward and get all these fucking white people nations, Eastern European nations, and make them part of the Soviet Union, so Russia can feel secure by itself. If you guys want to look at, there's a guy named Peter Zeihan. Zeihan, on YouTube that does a really good job explaining the motivation behind invading Ukraine. Because there's a lot that goes into this, and those nations are free now. They don't want to be under Russia again. They don't want to be part of the Soviet Union. They don't want to be, at the mercy of a fucking dictator in Russia, in Moscow. They want their freedom. They like having their freedom. Now, sure, yeah, Ukraine, probably has some corruption, like most nations do. Ukraine's a young country. They're still trying to, they established in the early 90s, like in 1993, 94, somewhere around there. They want to be their own country, But say what you want about corruption in Ukraine, sure. But you know what? Since Russia invaded them, I give these people a lot of fucking credit. Zelensky could have flew out, just like that motherfucker in Afghanistan did when the United States left. The Afghan people could have fought for themselves. They had the weapons and the training. But as soon as the United States left, they laid the policemen, the military people, and the Afghan men, they laid their weapons down like a bunch of pussy cucks and let the Taliban come in and take over them. They could have fought, but they didn't. Now, if they would have fought for themselves and not given up, I think the United States would have tried to help them out. There's no way that Biden would try to help out Zelensky Ukraine if Zelensky fled. They even offered him a plane. And I think one of the most courageous quotes in the history of mankind is going to, if Ukraine's able to withstand this Russian invasion, I need a gun, not a plane. What a great quote. How can you not be inspired by that? He did not fled. He stayed. And the Ukraine people want their freedom. They don't want, like fucking Ron DeSantis, the governor of fucking Florida who's running against Trump. That's why I call him DeSantis, because he's a fucking cuck. I can't wait to see fucking him on the stage with fucking Trump. As much as I hate Trump, I give the guy props when it comes to, the debate thing, because he's very entertaining, and he knows how to fucking attack. And I love how he attacks the other Republicans. And they fucking take it like little cucks because they want his voters. They know that if Trump doesn't like what happens and he doesn't get the nomination, he's going to take his ball and run and go, rigged, don't vote, stay at home. And they'll get annihilated in the 2024 election. So they've been very careful to not criticize him. And actually to say, this has been a witch hunt. The Justice Department, FBI, has been corrupt. It's been weaponized. Let me tell you something. If any Democrat did the shit that Trump did, the fucking Republicans would have their panties in a fucking twist. They would have fucking, stormed the Capitol. Wait, they did storm the Capitol, but it wasn't because the Democrat did anything. It was because Trump lost. Trump lied, made up all this bullshit. Scam artist, grifter, stole fucking memorabilia and documents from the fucking White House. Didn't want to give it back. If a Democrat did any of this shit, the Republicans would have reacted the same way that the Democrats and the law enforcement has reacted when it comes to Trump. I would say that they fucking, law enforcement has taken their time when it came to fucking investigating Trump. If the average person did this shit, they would have got arrested and tried long ago. But because he's a former president, and plus I think there's a percentage, a portion of law enforcement that doesn't like investigating Trump. Most cops are pro-Trump. So, but even most cops are like, look, this guy did commit a crime. Okay. But anyway, getting back to the whole Zelensky thing, Andrew Tate and Ron DeSantis, who said, oh, it's just a territorial thing. No. Those motherfuckers, all this stuff that, you talk about stand up for yourself, that's what the fucking Ukrainians are doing. They're standing up for themselves. Okay? How can you not respect that? I tell you why. Because people on the right and the Jesus freaks are becoming more and more, they see Russia as an opportunity for Christianity to flourish and be spread. And they look at Putin as being like the vessel for that. And not only Russia, but they want all the Eastern European white people to fall under that. And so, because a lot of Christian missionaries, they're going to Russia to spread the gospel. They look at that as like their mandate. And that's what the Jesus freaks here in America want. They want to turn America into the Christian version of the Taliban. Like Roe versus Wade being overturned, that was never the end game. That was the beginning of the dominoes they want to see fall. All right? They want to see prayer in the schools. All right? They want to make people go to church, make people give 10% to some wacko pastor who, wants to have 5 vacation homes and wear alligator boots. And they want you to be forced to have to listen to their sales pitch, because that's what it is. It's a fucking sales pitch. Because there's no God, there's no fucking heaven, all right? Nobody's answering prayer. It's all made up bullshit. Bullshit. And yet, they want to pass legislation that either forces you to listen to shit, if not force you to convert, or subject you to one of these for-profit private prisons that these Republican companies are building increasingly. They want to privatize prison. And they want to force you to go there if you don't fucking submit to their fucking agenda. That's what the fucking Jesus freaks want. As a sports fan, I'm fucking sick and tired of the national anthem being played at every fucking sporting event. I'm a big baseball fan. But instead of take me out to the ball game being played in the bottom of the 7th inning, God Bless America is being played every fucking time. What happened to take me out to the ball game? Fucking sick of this shit. So, you know what? Yeah, he's wrong about, Andrew Tate's totally wrong about, Ukraine. He's also a COVID denier, COVID-19 denier. He bitches all the time about having to wear a mask, the vaccines, oh, it's just a flu. You know what, dude? 1.2 million people died in 3 years since COVID became a thing. 1.2, just in America, not the rest of the world, just in America. People don't die from the flu, okay? Whole nursing homes don't get fucking ravaged, all right, in the winter, okay? Even if they get the flu can be treated, okay, normally. But this vaccine would mean this, this COVID-19, is something else. Healthy people were getting this shit and dying, okay? Healthy people. I mean, for people to sit there and downplay COVID, these fucking vaccine deniers, I don't understand, man. If science can, and medicine can help you, like, not get sick, what the fuck? I mean, it's just, these people, you can't reason with these motherfuckers, man. They act like COVID is like a made-up thing. It's no big deal, okay? But let's compare how the Jesus freaks and people on the right handle COVID with their reaction to AIDS in the early to mid-'80s. When AIDS first came out in the early 80s, yeah, it's scary. They didn't know. But by 83, 84, people knew that it was a blood disease, that you couldn't get it by touching somebody or being next to them or breathing the same air or whatever. It was a blood disease. Yet in late 1984, a 12-year-old boy named Ryan White, who lived in Indiana, contracted AIDS by a blood transfusion because he was a hemophiliac. So he had routinely, throughout the year, get blood transfusions to stay alive. Well, he contracted it because the blood that he got was contaminated with AIDS. Instead of fucking comforting him and his family, do you know what the fucking Jesus freaks in Indiana and throughout the nation did? They vilified this little boy. They called him fag, cocksucker. They demonized him. They wanted him quarantined. They didn't want him to go to school. They didn't want their kids to be around. Even though the education was already out there, they still fed into the fear. Oh, man. Now, I thought the Jesus freaks were supposed to have compassion for the sick. Instead, they got on TV and said people who got AIDS should be put on an island in quarantine. That they deserved it. It was God's punishment, really. So it was God's punishment that a 12-year-old little boy get AIDS. I'm sorry, but let's say I'm wrong, and there is a God out there that the Jesus freaks talk about. I would rather die and go to hell than to worship some prick fucking God who allowed a disease to be, I guess, who cast AIDS, who used AIDS as a punishment for gay people, without considering that this virus could also kill straight people or 12-year-old little boys who would get it through a transfusion, blood transfusion. Really? That's how you punish people? You punish people and like, well, it's collateral damage. That's what the Republicans say. Oh, collateral damage. They vilified this boy. They shot bullets at his home, vandalized his mom's car. They had to go to court. And it still got so bad, they decided to move to a bigger city in Indiana. And to that credit, I actually did some research on this. The school that he ended up going to a couple years later, they embraced this kid. They welcomed him. And the good thing about it is that the last few years of his life, he died in 1990. From 87 on, he went to school. He was surrounded by good people who embraced him, sat in class with him, befriended him. Unlike this bullshit Christian small town value family in Cicero, Indiana, a bunch of fucking Jesus freak fuckheads vilified him. So, in the early 80s, even after it became apparent that AIDS was not a airborne disease, unlike COVID, COVID is an airborne disease. You could get COVID by being in contact with somebody, but AIDS you couldn't. And yet, the Jesus freaks overreacted, panicked, and vilified a 12-year-old boy, among others, for getting it. And yet, when it comes to COVID, well, I want my freedom. I want my freedom to go and be in public and contaminate other people potentially, because you know what? I'm healthy. Because some people out there were able to get COVID and not have any symptoms. And most of those were younger people. But the problem is, we don't live in a society with only younger people. All right? People who are like in their middle age, mid-40s, 50s, 60s, and older, are susceptible to, having COVID symptoms. And so, until they were able to get a vaccine, they had to shut things down. But because Republicans didn't want to be, inconvenienced, because they felt like they have a right to go to church, people who went to church got this shit and ended up dying. Because nobody wore a mask, and especially in the South, in these fucking Jesus freak towns, they wanted their freedom. Their freedoms is more important than anybody else's right to fucking live. And yet, when it came to people who were AIDS victims, they shunned them. They stayed away from them. They vilified them. Now, why the different reaction between AIDS? Let me tell you something. AIDS, from 1980 on, has killed 750,000 people. That's 43 years. Versus the 3 years of 1.2 million deaths for COVID. 1.2 million in 3 years versus 750,000 people in 43 years in America. Not worldwide, in America. Why the disparity in reaction to COVID versus AIDS? I'll tell you why. Homophobia. Even though they were, and IV drug users. Republicans look at IV drug users and gay people as being fucking evil, sinners who deserve God's punishment. That's what they feel. And yet, people who were blood transfusion, who had to get blood transfusions, whether it's during surgery for whatever or because they're hemophiliac, they contracted AIDS. But they didn't think about that. All they thought about was homosexuals and drug users. Oh, they deserve it. These people are not good fucking people, man. They're horrific human beings. And so the whole Ryan Wright situation, that kid, he was not even 2 months older than I am. He was born in December 71. I was born in January 72. So he's about like 6 weeks older than me. And I remember him, when I was growing up, I remember hearing about this story. But you guys go online and YouTube him and just look at the videos of how these people who call themselves, good Christians, how they treat this kid. I don't want to hear about all the fear. No, in the late 84, early 85, the information was out there. And yet they discounted the information. They didn't care because they looked at it as being a gay. How you gonna call a 12-year-old boy a fag? Call him a cocksucker. What kind of human does that shit? You Christians out there call yourself moral people, loving people. No, you're not. You're full of fucking hate. Fuck you. I got no fucking respect for a motherfucker who wants to fucking demonize a 12-year-old little boy who contracted AIDS via a blood transfusion. No fucking, you people ain't fucking human. You're the evil motherfuckers, okay? Fuck you. There's a part of me that wants to see Trump get the Republican nomination. And Tate's a big Trump supporter. Because logically I'm thinking there's no way Trump can win a general election. Because independent voters basically are too stupid to make up their fucking mind. Because 45% of the country is Republican, 45% is Democratic. That's not going to change. Those numbers, but 10% of the people out there, for whatever reason, can't make up their minds. So basically all elections are decided national elections. I mean, there's depending on where you live, up and down, whether cities or states, whatever, those numbers are not absolute. But nationwide, 45% are Democrat, 45% Republican. That's been pretty much the same. It's the 10% who are independents who can't make up their fucking mind. Those are the ones that decide elections, whether it's who they vote for or how big they turn out. And that's because most Republicans and Democrats, they're going to get their base out. Both of them get their base out, this independents decide. And in 2016, independents slightly went for Trump, and that gave him an election. But independents overwhelmingly went for Biden in 2020, and he won convincingly. He won by a better margin than Trump beat Hillary. And so, logically, I'm like, there's no way Trump's going to win. But the thing that concerns me is Biden's age. I actually think that Biden's done a good job, and he doesn't get nearly the credit that he should. I think Biden would have done an even better job if it wasn't for Christian Sinema and Joe Manchin, who are like, they're Democrats in name only, but fuck, man, I mean, they vote like Republicans, but despite those two, he was still able to get shit done, and the economy's growing, and inflation was not his fault. COVID-19 and then the Russian invasion of Ukraine, that right there is the reason why inflation is still an issue. Not because anything Joe Biden did, okay? So, I mean, the stimulus that he put in stirred up the economy. We needed that. And I think that Biden learned a lot from Obama. Obama's biggest mistake was he tried to compromise with the Republicans. So Republicans have never, ever been anything about compromise. All right? And his mistake was trying to compromise with them. He had a big Democrat majority going into 2009, and he should have used that to fucking say, you know what? We're going to get our shit done. We got the numbers. Use those 2 years. but because he didn't really use those 2 years. But poor messaging. The Tea Party came out in 2010. And I think that's directly because O'Biden. That's a fucking, what, Sarah Palin here, call him O'Biden, because Obama, yeah, guys, you don't know, in 2008 when Sarah Palin was vice president, she debated Vice President Biden, or who became Vice President Biden, in the only debate that the vice president had, she kept calling him O'Biden. So, I guess I had a slip there, but in 2009, Obama made the mistake, of trying to compromise, and it frustrated people, and he didn't get the messaging out. While I think that Biden has done a good job of learning from those mistakes, his messaging is really poor. And Democrats really do a poor job of the messaging because they let the Republicans just dominate the airways with, oh, he's corrupt, he's commie shit. Dude, the economy's growing good. The jobless rate is low, okay? I mean, sure, inflation can be a little bit better, but you know what? People are making money, okay? I went to the World Series of Poker this year, and those tournaments down there, record-breaking numbers. The main event had more people this year by over 1,000. The record for the main event, which is a $10,000 buy-in, by the way, it costs $10,000 to play in the main event. So you buy in for $10,000, or you play a satellite tournament and win your way into the main event. The previous record was in 2006 during the internet boom, when Jamie Gold, it was 8,773 players. This year, 10,300, something like that, by over 1,500 players. More than 1,500 players set the record this year. So I don't want to hear about how Biden's doing a bad job with the economy. But not just those tournaments, all the other smaller buy-in tournaments, huge fields, record-setting fields. People have money and they're spending it. Okay? So, and I wish the Democrats would just do a better job of messaging. But regardless, that's my only concern, is that the messaging's going to be, not as strong as it should be, and that with Biden being 82 years old next year, he's if he falls down and gets hurt or whatever, a segment of society could be like, well, because Trump's only like a couple years younger than him, but I mean, they're going to look at Trump as like, well, he's at least he's healthy or whatever, because people are stupid. They forget shit, when it comes to like how bad Trump was, and so, personally, I like Gavin Newsom. You see how, now Gavin Newsom is what a Democrat should be all about. This motherfucker's on the offensive. He attacks Dukakis, the governor of Florida, Dukakis. He got on Sean Hannity on Fox News and fucking came firing with facts. Every time Hannity would do these right-wing talking points, that they fucking regurgitate over and over again, fucking Gavin Newsom, governor of California, fucking came out firing with a fucking smile on his face. Go on YouTube and look at that fucking video, man. That's how a fucking Democrat should be. Fucking coming out firing with facts and with numbers, and show how stupid and wrong these fucking Republicans are. I would love to see DeSantis, Dukakis, debate fucking Gavin Newsom. He would get slaughtered. Fucking, let me tell you how Dukakis is. I read a story about Dukakis, and when he was in college dating women, he'd take them out to a Thai restaurant, and he would pronounce it as thigh, like your thigh. If this date corrected him, he ended the date and never saw him again. But if the date he went on didn't correct him, he continued to date them. What kind of fucking small dick energy guy comes up and does some shit like that as a screening out tool when it comes to fucking who you're going to date? I mean, you got to have a fucking little dick insecure motherfucker to sit there and go, you know what? I need to be with a woman who won't correct me. What a fucking, that's why I call him the cuckus. Because that's what, most cucks have a little cocks. And that's what fucking Ron the cuckus is. A the cuck. But I would love to see fucking, now hopefully Trump, in one of the debates when he fucking debates these guys, and he's going to be debating the cuckus. I hope he fucking uses that shit. Because Trump's very creative when it comes to name calling and all that. Call him the cuckus. Trump, if you're ever watching this, call him the cuckus. Everybody will fucking laugh their fucking asses off if you call him the cuckus during a debate. But anyway. The lady that interviewed Andrew Tate is a black lady named Candice Owens. I call her the female version of Clarence Uncle Tom. There's a lot of money to be made from black conservatives because there's so few of them. And white people, like Tim Scott, in South Carolina, most white people want to stay away from black people. But when it comes to Tim Scott, fucking white people love them some Tim Scott. Even though Tim Scott is more than likely gay, nothing wrong with being gay. But he's a 45-year-old man, never been married, no kids. And if you listen to how he talks, dude's gay. Okay? But because he's very quiet about it, very hush-hush, doesn't advertise it, and he's black, and he's conservative, all the Republicans love that shit. And they have supported him overwhelmingly when it comes to him being senator of South Carolina, and he's running for president. He's making money. He's raising money for his campaign. But Candace Owens is because even though you got some black men out there that are conservative, but there are very few black conservative women. The only two I've ever heard of is Candace Owens and that Harris sellout Faulkner bitch on Fox News. If you listen to this lady talk, I swear she was fucking white. That lady don't talk like a black person. That lady talk like she's been around a bunch of fucking white people, who believes in the fucking Jesus shit, conservative, family fucking values with a fucking farce. All right? But yeah, there's a lot of money to be made if you're a black conservative, especially if you're a black female. And so that's what this Candace Owens chick is a fucking Uncle Tom. Like Clarence Thomas, that motherfucker, man. The Republicans, they're one of the selling points when they denied Obama the right to replace Anthony Scalia in early 2016 when he died, is because that's Scalia's seat. It should only go to a conservative. Well, back in 1991, what did George Bush Sr. do when Thurgood Marshall died? Did they call it the Thurgood Marshall seat? Hell no. They gave it to the opposite. The extreme opposite of fucking Thurgood Marshall. They gave it to Clarence Uncle Thomas. That motherfucker is a fucking sellout. And you won't talk about fucking porn and fucking sexual harassment. That motherfucker sexually harassed the hell out of Anita Hill. Compared himself to Long Dong Silver. In case you guys don't know, in the 70s there was this black guy named Long Dong Silver who had a cock that went down to his fucking knees. And he fucked this porn star named Seika, who was like the blonde goddess back then. And he compared himself to her and the other women that when he ran the EEOC, was the ironically called the Equal Employment Opportunity Center. yeah, equal opportunity to fucking show women your cock and tell them how you compared it yourself to Long Dong Silver. Google that shit. Long Dong Silver and Clarence Uncle Thomas. Tell you, man, you'll read all kinds of fucking shit about that. But Clarence Thomas has been making a lot of fucking money in Supreme Court, and getting all these perks from these rich white men that have cases that come before the Supreme Court. He gets fucking flown out on yachts, lavish vacations, expensive dinners, all this fucking shit. It pays to be a black man on the Supreme Court and a fucking sellout. That motherfucker hasn't seen a conservative issue that he hasn't yet endorsed. And Candace Owens, she's making a lot of fucking money too. She gets hella support from these fucking Republican fucking right-wing think tanks. And so when she interviewed Andrew Tate, I kept thinking, what a fucking sellout bitch. You know, which is getting into the whole, like, when it comes to history being whitewashed. Florida has just come up with this, they're totally reworking the black curriculum they're teaching in the high schools. They actually said, when they talked about slavery, when they described what happened during slavery, and one of the things they said was, well, during slavery, the slaves learned life-altering skills, where it was to the skills that benefit them. Here's a newsflash, white people. The only people that benefited from the skills that the slaves learned were rich white plantation owners. The black people did not benefit from that shit. The slaves did not. Nope. It was their owners that benefited from it. Slavery made a number of white people fucking rich. Them and their descendants. So I don't want to hear about how, it was skills that enriched their benefit. Get the fuck out of here. Only fucking white Jesus freaks can come up with some shit like that. You know, which, you know, I like, you know, one thing I sympathize with, you know, a lot of stuff that black people, when it comes to reparations, when it comes to criminal justice reform, you know, when it comes to like redlining from the banks, all this shit that stuck them over that white people just act like don't matter. I totally agree with the changes in their fight against this. But the one thing that pisses me off when it comes to the average black man is the fucking Jesus nonsense. Because a lot of black people can't help but love them some fucking Jesus. I mean, in the Bible, in Exodus 20 verses 20 through 21, it says, it is okay to beat your slaves as long as they don't die within a day or two, because they are considered your property. That is a hell of a fucking piece of scripture right there. Not only does God endorse slavery, but he condones the beating of them as long as they don't die within a day or two. And that right there, that piece of scripture right there, white people in America use that as justification to enslave black Americans for over 250 fucking years. The Bible says it's okay. And yet black people can't help but love them some Jesus. This has been my theory about why Christianity and Jesus it has so much love in the black community. After the Civil War ended, some very opportunistic, educated black people were like, yeah, it's fucked up how the white man did us. But, you know, the white man's onto something here when it comes to this Christianity and Jesus stuff. Because he uses Jesus as a way to control and manipulate other white people. So instead of white people manipulating, using Jesus and Christianity to manipulate and exploit black people, why can't we, influential black men and women, why can't, well, really black men, because black women didn't really have any power back then. Why can't we, as black men, use Jesus and Christianity as a way to exploit and manipulate and control our own people? And if you fast forward to today, no black man alive can get elected dog catcher without the support of the black church. The black church, now, I do believe that black people worship differently than white people. I think black people use Christianity as like a, you know, as a source of comfort, you know, and they don't look at it like, you know, you should put your knees on the back of other people and force them to believe. Although I do think that the black community has a problem when it comes to homosexuality and accepting it when it comes to, because of the Bible. You know, I think in 2009 when they had the gay marriage initiative here in California, the black people, from a percentage standpoint, black people voted highest against legalizing gay marriage than any other ethnic group out there. You know, and I just wish that black people would wake up and realize that the Bible is full of shit. And if it was my people that was enslaved for 250 fucking years, and the Bible was used as justification to enslave my people, there's no fucking way I would fucking worship a fucking God who says it was okay to own my ass and beat my fucking ass as long as I didn't die within a day or two. What kind of fucking shit is that? You can own me and beat me as long as I don't die within a day or two. Fuck that shit, man. You know, another thing Andrew Tate embraces on, and Candice Owens talked about this shit too, is cancel culture. Oh, you know, our free speech is taken away. We're being canceled. You know, if we don't convert, get with the program that the Matrix or mainstream media is trying to force us to. White people in right-wing America and you Jesus freaks out there, you motherfuckers started cancel culture. That's right. You motherfuckers started cancel culture back in 2016 when you canceled Colin Kaepernick, quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers, because he kneeled during the national anthem of a preseason football game. You vilified him. You canceled him. Donald Trump said, fire him, because he silently knelt during the national anthem to protest police brutality when it comes to the black community. You motherfuckers started this shit. And now it's come full circle and starting to bite you motherfuckers in the ass because of your fucking COVID-19 denying and your homophobia and all this other shit. Oh, we're being canceled. Fuck you. You motherfuckers are the fucking snowflakes. All you fucking people are always talking about, Democrats are snowflakes, Democrats are their feelings, Democrats are, we're the cucks. No. You motherfuckers are the fucking cucks. You motherfuckers are the snowflakes. You the motherfuckers get your fucking feelings in a fucking twist. Why are you motherfuckers trying to whitewash history? And you always say, we don't want our white children to feel uncomfortable because of what happened in the past. Talk about your fucking feelings? Talk about being snowflakes? As Jack Nicholson said in A Few Good Men, you can't handle the truth. Because you're a fucking snowflake pussy cuck bitch. That's right, you Republican white ring Jesus freak buckheads. You're a cuck, you're a pussy, and you're a whiny little bitch. That's what you motherfuckers are, man. Also, what they try to do in Florida is, in addition to the whole slavery, the slaves learning life-altering skills that was to their benefit, they said that the violence during slavery should be equally attributed to black people and white people. Like it's on a fucking level. Any violence that black people committed during slavery was fucking justified. Because they were enslaved for 250 fucking years. Black people in America had no hope of ever being fucking free, of being enslaved. And you're going to sit there and go, well, if they committed acts of violence, you got to fucking attribute blame to them, equal blame to them. In what universe is that even fucking comparable? It's not even the fucking same ballpark. Not even the same universe. It's playing equal fault. Unfucking believable. That's like saying that if a woman gets raped and she fights back, that she should be equally charged by law if she fucking attacks her rapist and he gets injured. That she should be assigned equal blame. Only a fucking Republican Jesus freak fuckhead can come up with this fucking, mental gymnastics and say, okay, I'll make this argument. These people are not fucking human. They got no compassion. They always talk about, the rest of the world practiced slavery. You know what? Slavery in America was not practiced like it was in the rest of the world. It was not a generational thing. It wasn't something that lasted for 250 fucking years that 1, 2, 3, your child, your grandson, your great-grandkid, your great-grandkid, your great-great-great-great-grandkids, all your whole lineage was going to be condemned to slavery. It was not like that. I challenge anybody to fucking show me something where slavery was something that was supposed to be, that a whole race of people was subjected to for 250 fucking years in any nation other than the United States. You won't find it. People were enslaved for a period of time, but it was not something that their kids and their kids and their kids and their kids and so on were subjected to for 250 fucking years. The brutality, the raping, at this fucking, systemic level that it went on in America. I'm not saying that people who enslaved people in other parts of the world didn't rape or whatever, but not to the level it was in America. It was systemic, widespread, and no interruption for 250 fucking years. Andrew Tate has this thing called the Real World, where for $49.99 you can join his, red pill community, and you can learn how to make all kinds of fucking money, and do with him and Justin Waller and some of the other, I guess professors that he has in his little thing where you're going to get all this wisdom and insight, and I'm going to make you rich. Andrew Tate is part of the 10% men out there. Tall, good looking, fit, make high six figures. If it was that easy to do it, everybody be doing it. $49.99 a month ain't going to make you a millionaire. But if you convince 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 people to fork over $49.99 a month, that's how you get rich. That's me, And so, because most people think, $49.99 ain't that much. I can get rich. Okay, I'll try it. If it doesn't work, I'm only out $50 or $100 or whatever. All you got to do is get a small percentage to buy into it and do that renewal, and you'll get rich. But if you're not tall, if you're not good looking, you're not fit, the chances of you becoming rich decrease. And if you're not tall, you're not good looking, you're not fit, you're not going to be a top 10 guy no matter how much you make. Now, if you're rich and you're ugly or short or whatever, you can find somebody, I'm sure. But you're not going to have scores of females wanting to hook up with you. I mean, I've seen things where guys who are like 5'5", 5'6", and they're successful. They be good looking, fit, but because they're 5'5", 5'6", they make a lot of money. But because they're 5'5", 5'6", most women won't even look at them. Only the extreme gold digger would date them, but they're only dating them for their money. They're not really looking for something long-term for them. Now, are there exceptions to the rule? Sure. I'm not saying that it's an absolute, but in general, if you're not a top 10 guy with those qualities, you're not going to get a fucking top 10 female. It's just not going to happen. So it's this whole $49 a month thing. It's a fucking scam. I mean, I give him credit. He's got the gift of gab. Okay? He can talk. He's confident. But there's reasons why he is confident. He's tall. He's good looking. He's fit. And he's got these, it can give you the confidence because you know that you have what people want. People want what you have. And so he's able, Justin Waller, and these other guys who have these attributes that a top 10 guy have, they're able to fucking sell this shit. And people out there think, I can do this. I can get this. If I just do what he says and fork over $49 a month. I mean, it's just unbelievable, man. But anyway, wow, I've been doing this for an hour and a half. I didn't realize time flies. It's been a while since I made a video and I got so much to say, but I'm going to start posting more, and because there's so much that needs to be said. I hear so much stuff that's just full of crap. And, I want you guys to hear it and, leave me some feedback. I don't care if you disagree with me or not. I actually like talking to people who disagree with me. I won't delete any comments of somebody that disagree with me, But if you're going to disagree with me, bring some fucking facts. I'm not saying I'm 100%, absolute correct in everything I say. If I'm wrong, explain to me. If there is a God out there, explain it to me that there is a God out there with some fucking proof. Don't come at me, well, the Bible says so. Anybody can write a fucking book, okay? I can write a book and say a bunch of stuff. Don't mean it's fucking true. So anyway. All right, you guys have a good day, and hope you enjoyed the video.